Welcome back to the latest episode of the 10-minute round. I am your host, mi nombre es Alex. Here's the thing. We're going to talk UFC 308. We're really only going to talk about the co-main event because, let's be honest, it's not a bad card. There are some good fighters on this card. There's some fights that have meaning. We're probably going to get our next light heavyweight contender out of this one from the Ankalaev fight. But if we're just completely transparent with ourselves, nothing tickles our pickle more than the co-main event of this fight. Really, the last two fights on this card is the whole reason we're all tuning in. So we're going to talk about Khamzat Chimaev versus Bobby Knuckles himself, Robert Whittaker. Because what else? That's all we're here for. This is the hype level for this fight should be off the fucking charts because it's going to be such a good time. It's going to be a great time. This fight will determine who the next challenger for the middleweight belt is. It will determine who the challenger is for the winner of, I think, Sean Strickland and DDP is going down. I think that is for sure in the plan. I don't know if it's officially scheduled yet, but it looks like it's going to happen. But anyway, so, if either one of these guys goes in there and wins impressively this weekend, they're definitely next in line for the title. For Khamzat Chimaev, it's been kind of a long road to get here. He started off with his UFC career, his UFC run, like the dude just was like a fucking freight train. He came in and was just dominating everybody. And, over the past few years, that kind of aura has gone away a little bit. Part of it was, Gilbert Burns made him look human. Kamaru Usman kind of made him look human. Even, Kamaru took that fight in like on a week's notice or a few days' notice. And he gave him, a nice run for his money. But a little bit of that Khamzat aura is gone. And there's a lot of questions going into this fight, that need to be answered. And I think Khamzat is a very talented fighter. I think he's an animal. Like, his ability just... the guy, he's not the greatest striker, but he does have power. He can strike. Obviously, the grappling is off the charts. He's so good at grappling. It is insane the level of control he has over another man. He's a guy that before he was in the UFC, you would hear UFC fighters talking about, hey, there's this guy training in Sweden that's like this absolute monster, and they were talking about him, and it looked like he was going to kind of run his way straight to the title, and these illnesses and these surgeries or whatever's been wrong with him, I don't know if they've actually ever really come out and said what he's been really dealing with, but obviously it's not been good. He's pulled out of a ton of fights. He's pulled out of a ton of important fights, including, he was supposed to fight Robert Whittaker earlier this year, and he pulled out of that one. We're only a few days away now from this fight. I'm hoping that he kind of sticks it out, that he makes it, because, I would love to see this go down. All he's got to do is make weight at this point, and let's... Who knows if this fight's even going to happen. But hopefully it does, because for Khamzat, he's an extremely talented fighter, but I kind of think that it is a mistake to be fighting Robert Whittaker in a 5-round fight after this layoff that he's had. I think the caliber of opponent in Robert Whittaker is very high. Robert Whittaker is probably, he's one of two of the best fighters that Khamzat has ever fought, the other being Usman. He's never really gone 5 rounds before, as far as I know. He seems to have a lot of trouble going 3 rounds. And for him to be I think he's like a minus 265 favorite, I'm kind of like a little surprised by the odds. I think the odds on Robert Whittaker are kind of attractive in this one because there's just so much unknown right now for Khamzat. Obviously, if he can get Robert Whittaker down and he can control him and he can punish him, he can win rounds. But I do think that it is in his best interest to finish Robert Whittaker and to do it pretty early with, either submit him or whatever, because the longer this fight goes, I think the more it's going to favor Bobby Knuckles. There's just it's kind of a double-edged sword here, though, because what Khamzat does is he kind of comes out with such ferocity in the first round, and he's looking to completely dominate from the opening bell, and it looks impressive, and it's like, he's been able to do it to some good fighters, but once if the fighter survives, hey, co-host, if the fighter survives, like, he runs out of, he kind of burns through his gas tank, and it becomes a problem later in the fight. He doesn't have the same kind of energy to just implement his game. And I think a guy like Robert Whittaker, who he still looks like he's at the top of his game. He still looks great in his last fight. He was in incredible shape. I think he's going to be in incredible shape for this one. He looks fucking fantastic. He's saying all the right things. He's doing all the right things. I think I think Robert Whittaker is going to present a huge problem for him. I think the only place that he can kind of get himself in trouble is, with his striking style, that kind of, he hops in, hops out, a little karate-ish style, blitzing in. He can find himself like in the body lock position with Khamzat, which is like Khamzat's bread and butter, is like he wants to get to that body lock, and once he gets you down, he kind of, he goes from step 1 to step 2 to kind of hold you down. He's, either tying up a leg or an arm, and he makes it difficult to get up. So in some of these exchanges where Robert Whittaker's kind of crashing into him, it could present a problem for Robert Whittaker. He kind of needs to really just push off and get out of there, and just not involve himself in these grappling exchanges. He just has to avoid it at all costs, like it's fucking hot lava on the floor or something, But I think the further that this fight goes on, I think Robert Whittaker's speed's going to give trouble to Khamzat. I think that his power is going to give Khamzat trouble, and I honestly think that if Khamzat's gas tank is not there for 5 rounds, that Robert Whittaker is going to put him away. I think he's going to finish him. I think it's possible that he does it in like the 3rd or 4th round, but I can't confidently pick Khamzat right now, even though I do think he's very good. It's just, there's just too many questions. There's too many questions. I have no idea what he's going to look like on Saturday. I also think that he hasn't consistently been fighting enough, where Robert Whittaker has been fighting a lot of top guys, pretty consistently, and not really taking these huge breaks like Khamzat. So I'm taking Robert Whittaker in this one. I think the plus 200 on him is so enticing. I think rent money. I think that's going to be a rent money bet. Hopefully it works out, because if not, babe, you got to cover the rent again. I'm sorry. It's weird how this just keeps happening to me. I don't know. But Robert Whittaker at plus 200, you got to take it. You got to. It's just, odds makers, maybe they know something that I don't. Usually they do. They're really good at this. There's a reason that they're odds makers, but I'm taking Robert Whittaker in this one. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe Khamzat will look the best he's ever looked. That's possible, I guess, but I just, you can't, anybody confidently picking Khamzat, how? I don't know. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm rambling. So that's it for this one. We'll see how the fights go. I will make a video after the fights and either celebrate being correct in my picks, or I will, probably be homeless. So have a good one. I'll see you next time. Peace.